I know this title sounds clickbaity. It's not. Like, it's definitely real. This is exactly what happened. It's just like kind of a douchey title. This is gonna be quite interesting because I was planning on refilming this video. I really was, because the quality is not great. It's not set in my normal setting, which, by the way, look, I got pom-poms. I got them because I was putting up twinkles in the rest of my apartment. And doesn't matter. Anyways, you will notice a couple things. First off, I have tried to do my makeup better than in my last video, in which I definitely looked way too pale. I'm pale to begin with. I don't know why I'm trying to like figure that one out in my life right now. It's been 23 years, like I'm clearly not gonna get more tan. Also, my lipstick was messed up the entire video and it bothers me, so I can't watch it. But anyways, back to this video. I have tried to retell this story like 7 or 8 times and I can't do it as well as when I first originally told it. So I'm just gonna give you that footage because yeah, it sounds a bit lazy, but at the same time, I think I got the tone right and it was more fresh in my mind. It's definitely an interesting story. Okay, so before this video begins, I would really like to thank everyone who has commented, subscribed, like every little thing that you guys do, I definitely take notice of. And if you comment something nice, like I definitely want to acknowledge that for sure. And a bunch of you requested more paranormal videos, which is great because I definitely have a lot of those planned, as well as a few more true crimes, which, as you know, are my faves. Alright, I hope you guys really enjoy this. Without further ado, here is how I almost died and then had a paranormal experience on top of that. Basically, where to start. About 5 or 6 years ago, I was in a pretty bad car accident. It was my fault. I was backing up too far and I just hit a pole at like 50 miles an hour and twisted my back really bad. That spiraled down into me having really bad back spasms. And when I say back spasms, I don't mean like sometimes my muscles would hurt. I mean like I would not be able to move out of bed. It got so bad that I was having panic attacks every time I got them and couldn't breathe, and I basically felt like I was dying all the time. You know, they just hurt so bad and they were so paralyzing. And we went to doctors and every single doctor was like, no, it's fine. It's just, you know, residual from the car accident. Like nothing's wrong. It's just probably some swollen discs, like nothing's an issue. It's like, alright, you know, that's fine, like I'll take that. You know, at this point in my life, I had been a competitive athlete for over 10 years, and so for me to get injured was really bad in general, and I actually had to quit my sports because the back spasms got so bad and so vicious that I was like, alright, I can't do anything anymore. So flash forward a couple of years, the back spasms kind of go away, but like not really. They're better, but they are always there. They're just more spaced out than they were right after my car accident. Well, I was up here. I'm at my cabin right now. This is like my childhood room, I guess. I was up here and I was helping a friend move a boat lift, which sounds ridiculous, but up here that's just what you do. You move boat lifts because the water levels change and stuff like that. So I was helping him move a boat lift, and I remember thinking, I was like, okay, this isn't that bad. Like, my back hasn't been bad for years. Like, obviously it's not gonna get bad now. I was wrong. So we're helping him move this boat lift, and I just remember, like, we were pushing down this piece of wood, and I just pushed it down really hard, and I felt something kind of tweak. I was like, oh god, no. So I'm laying in bed that night, I start to feel the feeling of a back spasm, and the way that I can describe it is like it starts from the middle of my back, like kind of right under my bra line, and it goes around to my ribs, and it's like this seething pain. Well, that was the start of like a whole new level of back spasms. And again, this sounds really stupid because like back spasms, yay, they're like muscle, like put some muscle relaxer on it. Like no, these are debilitating. So this goes on for the whole year, and we keep going to doctors and they take MRIs. They're like, nothing's wrong. You know, there's nothing physically wrong with you. This is all in your head. This is when I decided to go to China to visit my friend Bailey, who was living there at the time. So I was in China for, I want to say like 10 to 15 days, I can't remember which. And we weren't eating that badly, but she had told me, you know, the first week she was there or whatever, she'd gone to the dentist and drank the water and gotten a parasite. And I was like, okay, that's, you know, great. Don't drink the water. Sounds like a plan.
and I didn't. But when I came back to England, it was my friend Sophie's birthday. They were out in Nottingham in England. I've been back from China probably like 19 hours, like nothing. So we went out to a couple bars and I start feeling myself like have a back spasm. And I'm in heels, so I was kind of blaming it on that. Well, this was no normal back spasm. To put it in relation, most of my back spasm lasted from like an hour and a half to 3 hours. Okay, and that's just me being in pain, but eventually it would go away. This one lasted over 9.5 hours. At this point, I was just trying to lie down to get any sort of relief. So eventually, after I want to say 7 hours, I called an ambulance, which my friends to this day laugh at. They think it's the funniest thing that they've ever heard because British people don't do that. Neither do American people, to be quite honest with you, but I didn't know what else to do at that point. I called an ambulance. The ambulance comes. They're taking me away to this hospital in Nottingham. I have left my friends, by the way. They have no idea I've gone except for one of them. And apparently they woke up and were like... So I went and they took an ultrasound and they showed me the ultrasound and like, I'm no doctor, so I didn't know how to read it. And they were like, where have you just been? And I was like, well, I've just been in China and, you know, I just got back. And they were like, oh, you obviously have a parasite. No, because Bailey had told me that she had felt the effects of the water parasite like 2 or 3 weeks after she drank the water. And so I was like, there's no way I have a parasite. Like, no way in hell. They give me like a shot of antibiotics and they just send me on my way. And oh, I forgot to mention, the next day, I had come home to England for like 2.5 days. The next day I was going to Italy with my parents. So we got back from Nottingham and that night I had another attack. And my stomach was even bigger and my housemates were feeding me salt water, literally to make me throw up because it was the only thing that somehow provided some sort of relief. Like, got on the plane and I was just drinking Lucozade, which is like this really bizarre British energy drink, not eating anything. I think I ate like one full meal in Italy once over the, 10 days we were there. This is a long story, I apologize, but after I got back from that, this goes on. I am the only one home. Nobody else is home with me. I'm just staying at my house. And it has gotten so bad, I'm having a spasm that has lasted longer than 12 hours. So I call a taxi this time because I refused to call an ambulance after all the shit I got for that. So I call a taxi, I go to the Lincoln A&E, and I lived in Lincoln. They take me in and I am throwing up blood at this point because I've been throwing up so much that what I had done was ripped my esophagus. It wasn't like a terrible rip or anything, like it didn't need to be repaired. It was just like, it was so raw that I was just throwing up whatever was in my body. The doctor came in and said, okay, we need to get you in for an ultrasound. I think you have gallstones. What the fuck are gallstones? I'd never heard of them in my life. I'd heard of kidney stones. I didn't even know what a gallbladder was realistically. Like, I'd kind of maybe heard it in the back of my mind, but I honestly couldn't have told you where it was. They take me for the ultrasound. The minute they come back, they're like, okay, you have a bunch of gallstones. There's also a shadow on your liver, which you need to remember because that's important later. My liver enzymes were really high, and what that meant was if I got on a plane, my liver could explode. Those were his exact words. If I got on a plane, my liver could explode. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna get on a plane. Thanks. Yeah, no, I think I'm okay. I'm gonna stay right here. He was like, you should be able to, in 2 weeks, get on a plane to go home, but we have to get a CT scan for your liver just to make sure it's okay tomorrow. And they were keeping me in what was called the ambulatory bay. And the ambulatory bay was the best place I was kept on this journey because this is a fucking journey. I stayed the ambulatory bay for 2 days, okay? From the ambulatory bay, they then moved me to a women's ward. Now this is day 3, and I'm convinced that they are going to now get my CT scan today because why would they move me wards if they weren't going to get my CT scan? So this ward was a little weird. Okay, so the first person you need to know about was this woman named Irene. Irene clearly had some sort of dementia. She should have been in a care center that was very much catered to that. Irene was completely belligerent. She would hit and scream and yell at orderlies all day long. She would do it in the middle of the night, would yell at people that they were trying to steal her husband, and that she had cheated on like 4 of her other husbands. This was the best one, nobody should take him, he's mine. And this husband would come in. He was terrifying. He very clearly did not want to be with his wife, and he very clearly wanted out of every situation. So she would accuse the orderlies of like hiding him from her and like taking him away and trying to steal her husband, and the orderlies were doing no such thing. The husband basically said that she's gonna stay here, you know, she doesn't get to come home. It was terrifying to watch, you know, and I would have felt a little more sympathy had she not been so mean to people. I don't know if this is for everybody. I'm very attuned to rudeness. I don't like people being rude. I think it's horrible. I don't think there's any reason for it. And I understand she had dementia, so that's obviously a different thing. So I get the call the next day that they are moving me to the gastrointestinal ward. Why am I still here? So they moved me to a gastrointestinal ward, and this is where shit goes down. So basically, I'm in a room with the weirdest women that I have ever seen in my life. I mean, I am a good 50 years younger than all of them. There were 6 of us in the entire room. So there was one woman across from me who we called her Fancy Headdress. She was a cancer patient, absolute sweetheart. She's the only normal one out of the bunch. Then there was the Wiccan weirdo, who was this 80-year-old woman who we're pretty sure only spoke Orc, because we never heard her speak English, ever. And she would just stand up and chant for like the entire day. Like she'd sit up in bed and go, we couldn't understand what she was saying. We couldn't understand a goddamn word she was saying, but we're pretty sure it was Orc. Then next to her was a woman we called Bae Beryl. Her name actually was Beryl, and I do have a picture of her because she is hilarious. This woman was hysterical because she was so tiny and fragile and adorable, but like she was super sassy and like just gave it to the nurses every time they were like, Beryl, do you want to do this? She's like, I can do this myself. Like, what are you doing? And every time she would sleep, she'd look like Ebenezer Scrooge, which made me laugh. I think I have a picture of it, which I'll insert here. Then there was the woman, which I feel mean about calling her this, but I don't really because it's what she was. We called her helpless garbage disposal. Now she had some sort of like gastrointestinal issue to where she would sound like a garbage disposal roughly like 50% of the day. So she would eat anything, she'd go which hurts me to do. Now the woman next to me was the gem of gems, and I don't mean this in a good way. This woman, we're gonna call her Floppy Woman because she was just like a freaking possessed rag doll. This is where the paranormal shit comes in, so get ready. So Floppy Woman was very clearly not there. Like, she would act really with it when her family came, which was bizarre. Like, she had a daughter who was from Indiana, which was really cool because I grew up near Indiana, and you don't meet Americans in Lincoln ever. This woman would act super with it when she was with her family, and then the minute they were gone, she would go crazy and do things that were just so creepy and so like they make me get chills now. And so to preface, she had some sort of either hand surgery or skin thing, so all of her hands were bandaged up, so they were like this, and she couldn't touch anything, which I can't remember why. She couldn't like do normal things, so what she would do is if she needed anything, and I'm talking needed the chair moved a little closer, needed a spoon for her lunch brought to her lips, she would press the emergency button, and it would just beep incessantly. And she would do this at all hours of the night. But what she would do is if she needed anything, she would press the button, go, and yell, like scream at the top of her lungs, like, help, help, help. So people would think she was dying, and then she'd be like, oh, I just need my blanket moved. What in the world is going on? And the worst one is she would get out of bed, which we were unsure how she was able to do because this woman's 1,000, okay? She would get out of bed, sit in her like chair next to the bed with like her hair across her face, like the freaking Ring, okay? Like head down, hair across her face, just sit for like hours. And then she would get up by herself, which again, this woman is the crypt keeper. We have no idea how she can't bring a blanket up, but she can walk the like 100 yards to the bathroom. So she would walk to the bathroom, sit on the toilet, and then forget how she got there. So she'd pull the like bathroom emergency and start screaming, help, help, help. And we're sitting there like, what in the world is going on with this woman? What, like, it wasn't even dementia, it was like she just was crazy. So then it got worse. Like every night she would scream more, she would yell more, she would fight the orderlies on everything. I mean, they would bring her some food. She didn't want mac and cheese. She wanted mashed potatoes, and why did they get it wrong? And I don't think it was a memory thing, because when she was with her family, she like knew birthdays, she knew names, she knew everything, and it was just this. And by this point, I stayed in this ward for 4 days, by the way. So I was there a total of 8 days in a hospital ward waiting for a CT scan. So I'm sitting there, I am a broken person. I do not like hospitals, I find them very energy draining, and I'm having to deal with floppy woman over here freaking the fuck out every 5 minutes. So this is where it starts to get really weird. So at night, you know, these wards are supposed to be pretty quiet, minus like your EKG or whatever's monitoring you. And occasionally, like, helpless garbage disposal would make some noise, but like, for the most part it was a pretty quiet ward, except for floppy woman. This woman, oh my god, it scares me to this day, would whisper in her sleep frantically, and she would whisper shit that was like not normal. So she would whisper this one phrase over and over again. It goes, "It's in the book, it's 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 in the book," and just like that, like whispered but like hastily. And then she would sometimes whisper like, "That's hot, oh no, that's hot, that's hot, that's hot." The one that got me was when, and this was the night before I decided I'm not staying here anymore. I cannot stay here. I started crying in the middle of the night. I'm one of those people who, like, I've had paranormal experiences before. I believe in the paranormal. I believe in weird things, and I believe that this was not normal. Like, I don't care how crazy you are, you don't say this. So she was in the middle of the night. She was saying, you know, it's in the book, which I actually approve of, and I'll insert here. And you can hear the like beeping in the background. That's not like her EKG, that's she's pressed the emergency button. From there, I also tried to get the recording of this, and I had it at one point, and I think Facebook deleted it, which makes it even creepier. She recited The Old Lady and the Fly, so she was like, "There was an old lady who swallowed a fly, why did she swallow the fly? Perhaps she'll die," and literally ended on that and then went to bed. And I was like, I'm done. I'm so done. I cannot stay here any longer. I was like, I physically can't do it. My mother eventually was like, you know what, I'm coming over. So my mother eventually got there, and I just remember the like feeling of relief that my mother had gotten there, and I just broke down. I just started crying, and I'm not the person, I don't like crying in public, I don't like yelling at people. Again, I'm really attuned to rudeness, and I think like yelling and demanding too much is really rude. So eventually I looked at my mother, who is the exact opposite of me. Like she cares if she's rude, but she is very assertive. And I looked at her and I was like, "You have permission to do whatever you want to get me the fuck out of here." Like, she grabs the doctor from another patient, which again, in Britain you do not do, because it is free healthcare. They are not on your dime, they are on their time. She grabs the doctor, brings him over, and is like, "Alright, you need to get my daughter out of here today. Like, she needs to get the CT scan, I need to make sure I can take her on a plane, we're going." He goes, "Well, if, I'll check your scan again, but like, if you haven't had the CT scan by tonight, you're going to have an attack at 6 p.m. I was like, this doctor is literally telling me to fake an illness so I can get out of here? I was like, that was so perplexing to me. I was like, just get me the CT scan. He's like, "Alright, I'll go check your scan." Anyways, this doctor comes back, and he comes back with kind of like this like puppy look on his face. Like, he's a kid who's done something wrong. He was like, "I never checked your ultrasound." And I'm sitting there going like, "You've been my doctor for 5 days in this stupid gastrointestinal ward. How have you not checked the scan? I ask you every single day, am I gonna get the CT scan?" And so he'd never checked the ultrasound. He was like, "It's just the shadow from our machine. You didn't even need to be here." And at that point, I just about threw my bag at him and just like clonked him in the head. But I was so relieved to just get out of there that I was like, "Alright, I'm done. We're leaving. So we eventually got home, I spend my 4th of July weekend up here, so this is literally exactly a year ago. We decide to get in for my surgery on like July 7th, and I get this really great doctor in Chicago who's willing to do it. So we go in because he was like, yeah, obviously you have gallstones, like they clearly told us, but we need to see your scan as well. Like we need to, know how bad it is, can we get you in tomorrow, or do we need to, wait a month or something? We want to check your liver as well. And I was like, dear God, if you keep me 8 days in a fucking gastrointestinal ward, I will kill you. And luckily he didn't, but we got him for the ultrasound, and I was actually able to see the ultrasound. I thought that the gallstones were like, maybe like moderately bad. No, these were thousands of gallstones. Like my mother started crying. We had never seen anything like it. I was distraught because I was like, how is that in my body? Now, what I didn't realize at the time and what my doctor told me then is because my gallstones were so minimal, like they were very, very tiny. They were probably the size of like less than a pea. But the problem was they're trying to pass through like a straw-sized thing called a bile duct. And if they get stuck in that bile duct, all the gases in your stomach and whatever's in your stomach expand. So what it was doing essentially was trying to explode my stomach. So, and they've told me time and time again, had one actually gotten stuck in my bile duct, I would have been dead. So they were like, you probably would have been dead within a year had you not figured this out, because he said they've probably been there for 6 or 7 years. And I was like, car accident, of course. That was the first time something knocked it, got them in my bile duct, and just kept going. And I was thinking, I was like, every time they stopped, like the spasm stopped, was when I was either working out really like heavily or eating really right, and so I wasn't having any problems, because essentially it's triggered by fatty food and like lack of exercise and like sedentary. I literally was like, are you kidding me? I could have been dead in that hospital ward, and they were just keeping me there. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. Word to the wise, if you're having back spasms and it's not your back, it's your gallbladder, get your gallbladder checked because it could kill you. And that would be really, really bad, and I wouldn't want anybody to die. So eventually I got my gallbladder out and everything was fine. I haven't had any issues since then. I haven't even had like a back spasm at all, which after 6 years of having them incessantly, that's ridiculous. So that was my fun, like kind of weird story time of how I almost died last year. Hopefully I won't almost die this year. That would be super nice.
So I hope you liked that story. It's definitely one that will stick with me forever. Surprisingly. Goddamn sirens, I swear to God. They are everywhere tonight. I live next to a hospital. This is like, yeah, so if you like this video, obviously like, comment, and subscribe. I read everything you guys say. I appreciate you all. And have a lovely week, my dears.
There was an old lady who swallowed a fly. I don't know why she swallowed the fly. I guess she'll die.